What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today I have my New York Giants season preview for y'all, so let's hop into it. And if you like this type of stuff, please consider subscribing. But anyway, last year the Giants finished with a 9-7-1 record, which was third place in the NFC East, but it was good enough to clinch them a wild card spot, and they went on to the divisional round. They beat Minnesota in the wild card, but they lost in the divisional round 38-7 against the Philadelphia Eagles. So just a little bit of salt in the wound. They got blown out in the playoffs by a division opponent. That sucks, but still a really great year for the Giants last year and a lot to look forward to. Their coach even won Coach of the Year in Brian Dabble, so that was really good for the team. They kind of reminded me of the 2020 Browns, how they kind of shocked the world, made the playoffs in Stefanski's first year, won a playoff game. He won Coach of the Year. So this past year's New York Giants team kind of resembled that 2020 Browns team, in my opinion. But anyway, they did make some moves to improve the team and hopefully get right back into the playoffs. So let's get into that. First off, they signed defensive tackle Hakeem Nunez Roches. Then they grabbed linebacker Bobby Okereke, wide receiver Paris Campbell, safety Bobby McCain, wide receiver Jamison Crowder, cornerback Armani Oworie, tight end Tommy Sweeney, defensive tackle Ashawn Robinson, wide receiver Cole Beasley, and running back James Robinson. So a ton of guys that they brought in, some weapons, some defensive guys that can come in and make that defensive unit even stronger. They also went out and made a trade for tight end Darren Waller off of the Raiders, which surprised me because I didn't think the Raiders were going to move on from Waller, because I think, in my opinion, he's a top 5 tight end in the league. So just another weapon for this Giants offense in Daniel Jones. They also re-signed a good chunk of players as well. Quarterback Daniel Jones, linebacker Jared Davis, wide receiver Sterling Shepard, running back Matt Breida, wide receiver Darius Slayton, defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence, offensive tackle Andrew Thomas, and running back Saquon Barkley did get tagged. I know he was going to sit out, but he did end up signing that tag, which is good for this Giants team that is going to compete this year in the NFC East. But the Giants did a good job of re-signing key guys and giving them extensions as well. And 3 out of the 4 notable players that I have written down on my paper were all safeties, which was kind of weird. So safety Tony Jefferson, he retired. Safety Landon Collins, safety Julian Love, and wide receiver Kenny Golladay. So once again, not too many notable departures, at least in my opinion, for this Giants squad, which means that you're going to come back with that playoff group. The only difference is this year is that they added even more talent to the team. So that is only a good thing. And because they didn't have any staff changes, there's no new scheme to learn, and they can just build and just continue to be better. So moving on to their draft class, with their first pick, they got cornerback Deontay Banks. Then they grabbed center John Michael Schmitz. Then they grabbed wide receiver Jalen Hyatt. Then running back Eric Gray, cornerback Trey Hawkins III, defensive tackle Jordan Riley, then safety Gervarius Owens. So not too many draft picks by the Giants, but they still got a lot of guys that can fill holes and just kind of in positions of need. And there is a few. Deontay Banks can make an impact. Wide receiver Jalen Hyatt has kind of been showing out in the preseason a little bit, so he looks to be a good addition to that offense. But overall, a really good offseason for the Giants, and they really didn't do too much compared to other teams, but still a really good offseason for them. So let's move over to their schedule and my record prediction for the Giants. All right, now, so in week 1, they have the Dallas Cowboys, a Sunday night football game, and what will be a really good matchup, a divisional game starting off the season. It'll be a fun one to watch. And I do believe the Giants will split the season series with the Cowboys. And with this game being at home, I think this will probably be the one that they win. So I think they win right here in week 1, but they lose to the Cowboys down here in week 10. And then in week 2, they go on the road and play the Arizona Cardinals. And I don't think the Cardinals are going to be a very good team this year. And the Giants, once again, get a win and start the season off 2-0. But then they travel to San Francisco for another primetime game. And I do think they will lose this one to the 49ers. But finally, back home in week 4, another primetime game, a Monday night football game. They have the Seattle Seahawks. And this is going to be a really good game. 2 playoff teams from last year going at it. And the Giants, I think, rebound nicely with a win over the Seahawks. But then they go on the road and they have a tough couple of games. First at Miami. I do think they'll probably lose this one. And then they travel to Buffalo to face another AFC East team, another primetime game. The Giants seem to have a ton of primetime games early on in the season, but I do think they probably lose to the Bills right here too. And then the following week, they have the Washington Commanders, a division opponent. And I do think the Giants will probably sweep the Commanders this year. So I'll give them the win right here in week 7, as well as down here in week 11. And then right here in week 8, they have the New York Jets. So their third AFC East opponent in 4 weeks. But the difference this time is they do get the win over the New York Jets. And then the following week, they have the Las Vegas Raiders. And I'm not super high on the Raiders this year. So I do think the Giants will probably pull this one out right here. Then we already talked about this Cowboys game as well as this Washington game. So then they have the New England Patriots, their last AFC East opponent, and they do win this game right here heading into their week 13 bye. So at their bye, they're sitting at an 8-4 record, which is really good for the team. So coming out of the bye, they have the Green Bay Packers, which once again is a Monday Night Football game. So another prime time game for this team, and I feel they will beat the Packers. Then the following week, they have the New Orleans Saints, and I do have high hopes for the Saints this year. This game will be a good game, but I do think the Giants are just a little bit better all around the ball. I think they have a more explosive offense and just more weapons, so they beat the Saints. So on Christmas Day, they play the Philadelphia Eagles in their first of 2 matchups, and I think the Giants will get swept by the Eagles this year. And they lose right here on Christmas, which sucks for Giants fans. And then they lose also in week 18 to the Eagles. But sandwiched in between those two losses is a win against the Los Angeles Rams in what is otherwise a really good season for the Giants. So the Giants finished this year with an 11-6 record, which is really good. They make it back to the playoffs. They have a decent amount of tough games on this schedule, and they win some of those tough games like the Cowboys once, the Seattle Seahawks. You could maybe throw the Jets in there. I'm not super high on the Jets, but I know some people are, so that game could really go either way. And they also have some tough games: 49ers, Dolphins, Bills, Eagles. So once again, I do think they could maybe even pull out a game against the Eagles. So I think anywhere between a 10 and 12 win season for the Giants is reasonable. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this record. Do you think the Giants are going to make it back to the playoffs? Do you think they won't make it back? Let me know. Leave your thoughts down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I will catch you with another season preview. God bless.